Hello, and welcome to another episode of Critical Political Thinking. My name's Corey Camasso, and I'm your host. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the lies, how they continue. What ran on what they claimed would be the most transparent presidency ever has turned out to be the complete opposite. The least transparent president in recent history. So we're going to talk about a little more about the press conference manipulation. We can't really say lies because YouTube will just claim that we're lying, even though we all know that about half of the things out of Joe Biden's mouth, half of the important facts in our opinion out of his mouth were misconceptions or alterations of the truth, if you will, for lack of better words. Additionally, we're going to talk about how Biden is now attempting to interfere with Georgia's state voting law, even though he claimed it's up to the individual states. We're going to talk about gun control and how all of a sudden, now that the individual was Syrian, it automatically reverts back to the Asian hate crime. And most importantly, we're going to talk about the major, and when I say major, I mean catastrophic crisis at our southern border. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a very informative episode. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to Critical Political Thinking. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Critical Political Thinking. My name is Corey Camasso, and I'm your host. We're going to jump right into things because we have a very important episode to cover today and a lot of quite important details. First, we're going to talk about the press conference that Mr. Joe Biden held and how this press conference was packed with information, but none of the information was factual. Most of it was riddled with him trailing off and forgetting where he was in the sentence, or him simply reading what some 24-year-old staffer took the time to write for him prior to this whole press conference. Additionally, we're going to talk about something we discovered here at Critical Political Thinking we think may lead to a larger conspiracy based around that press conference. But we'll get to that at the end of the press conference. So what did we see from this press conference? So we already went over, the whole thing, what he did wrong, but what happened afterwards was the shame. And that was basically the way the media, the liberal media, portrayed this press conference. They immediately jumped to their editing staff and had them cut and paste and edit down this entire thing into what they called this a 3-minute briefing. But really what it was the only 3 minutes that he was coherent. So what they did was they made him look like he had some kind of common sense. And maybe this is good because other countries see it. But factually, the other countries already saw. And they saw the gaps and they saw everything that is Joe Biden. And that is a terrible leader and somebody not capable of leading our country, in our opinion. Additionally, he jumped right into the fact that he had 200 million vaccines. He was on track for 200 million vaccines. Oh, it's quite ambitious. There's nothing ambitious about it. That's exactly what happens when you create a new vaccine. More and more are made as more companies are able to manufacture it. They ramp up production and things get done faster. It has nothing to do with Joe Biden doing a goddamn thing but sitting there in his old ass and getting older as he goes. Donald Trump had this entire vaccine process already in place. When he left office, he was at 1.2 million and projected to get to where they are right now. Nothing changed. So how all of a sudden is it now Joe Biden? If it's the exact same trajectory that Donald Trump's administration was already on. Another lie. How about that? Additionally, he's talking about seasonal weather and for the border issues. That's why they're coming, seasonal weather. Nothing to do with him rolling back all of the Trump policies. We'll talk about that when we get to the border crisis because we have a whole lot to talk about with that. But we're just going through a really quick all of the fallacies that the media failed to cover or manipulated and made it sound like it was something good. Additionally, what we saw were two really important things. The first, everybody else kind of already saw, that was his cheat cards, where literally at the top, it reminds him who he is, President of the United States, just in case he forgets. And then it was his talking points. Now, these were supposed to be talking points, cue points, kind of like what we use. We don't use teleprompters, clearly. Someone like me, long-winded, never going to work. So what we do is we use keywords, just things to keep us on track. Well, that's what that was supposed to be, but what it ended end up being was him reading each and everything. However, what we noticed was he called on somebody, and then he would immediately look down for the answer, almost as if they already had the question. Now, this is just our observation, but we'd like you to go back and take another look. And here's some more proof for you. How about when the gentleman asked about gun control and flipped the bill on Biden? The question, not only was he not ready for, he may have either A, called on the wrong person, or B, just read the wrong answer to the wrong name, meaning we got all the questions, we got all the suggested questions from the people that are on our side. Obviously, that's why they didn't call on Fox, because they wouldn't play part in that travesty of a press conference. So it leads us to believe that all of those questions were either A, predetermined, or at least the answers were all predetermined, written down, all there for him, and he had no ability to do it on his own. The one press conference, the first, the only, the one time he had the opportunity to speak freely off his cuff, and he cheated again. That's our president. Cheated in school, cheated on his bars, I believe it was, or whatever his test was for school. He cheated on his, he lied, man. Said he was on top of his class when really he was like 170 or 156 or 176 or something along those lines, something really towards the bottom. Just all around manipulation. And it hasn't stopped. It's sad. Let's move on to the Georgia law. So all along the Democrats were saying, no, we must follow the states. The states have the right to choose and what goes on with their own elections. We have no right to interfere. That's the only way Joe Biden won, because they allowed the Democrats to change election law as they saw fit, to fit for COVID, to allow each and every person to vote by mail-in vote without any kind of identification, this, that, and the other thing. Now, what Georgia did was went back in and said, all right, some of those things were actually good, like the drop boxes, let's keep them. But however, it took too long for us to count our dates. Let's have a date set in stone. Let's move it back to the 6th instead of the 10th. 4 days, that's legit. It's how you move things along and you hold accountability. The only thing that changed and what everybody's going against, well, there's two things everybody's going against. One they're focusing on and one they're pretending is the problem with this bill. What they're pretending is the problem with the bill is Joe Biden saying, oh, they can't even get him a glass of water. And clearly that was his only talking point that he remembered, because he keeps bringing it up even though it's completely irrelevant. The water isn't even the point. So what it is it's not that you can't be humane and take care of somebody in line. It only states 150 feet to the pole, meaning don't get close to the poles. There's no reason you need to get that close. When you're that close, you could have already had your beverage, or you shouldn't be talking to anyone else at that point, because number one, that could lead to voter manipulation. It could lead to intimidation. You have no idea. Plus, it can lead to bribes. You don't know what's coming with that water. You don't know if they're bringing in special foods. You have no idea. So what they're doing is eliminating all of the opportunity for intimidation and problems. And Joe Biden has fault with that. Why? Because he knows he has no chance at ever winning Georgia without voter ID elimination. Because that's the only way they're able to do their ballot harvesting. That's the only way they're able to mark down addresses that don't exist, like which happened in Michigan. Check out StephenCrowder.com. That's factual information. That's not just, hearsay. These are addresses that didn't exist, people voted from, and no one has any answers to. And yet, Georgia takes steps to prevent problems like that, and all of a sudden Joe Biden has a problem with it and calls it xenophobic and racist. Can you please stop calling everything that you disagree with or that you have no grounding or standing to actually battle against, and you call it racist? Because all of a sudden everybody, oh, it's racist, we better not talk about it. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit, and we all know it. Just like gun control. Let's move right into gun control. Now, is it about gun control or is it just about control? Because let me tell you, it's just about control. The same speech comes up each and every time there's a shooting in the country, but what people fail to realize is no matter what you use, a car, a knife, a hammer, a drill, a gun, whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter. Crazy people will find a way to kill people if that's what's in their mind, okay? What you need to understand is that, for instance, 2 days ago, Arizona, an individual flipped off the road. A cop stops to help. Some crazy guy comes and shoots him in the shoulder and starts attacking him. If it hadn't been for another passerby with a legal carrying weapon in his car, that officer would have been dead, and anybody else that had popped up at that scene would have been dead. But instead what happened is somebody trained with their firearm, a legal firearm that never used it in an illegal manner, isn't crazy, had mental health evaluations, used the firearm to save lives. And that's the point of firearms, self-defense. And these are things that we need to begin to address, and these are things that we need to understand. You cannot claim that you know something if you have no idea what it is about it. For instance, people are claiming, oh, all of a sudden, because this guy came out alive, he must have been white. Nope, he was Syrian. And he didn't just attack black people. He attacked anybody he saw. As a matter of fact, I believe almost everyone was white, but now it's not a problem. It's not a hate crime. Even though they were all white and he's Syrian, it couldn't be a hate crime because they're white. How does that even make sense? And then you have the same thing come out saying, oh, all these shooters are all white. They must be white. Most mass shooters are white. Did you know that's wrong? Yes, most mass shooters are white. But in relation to the demographic of the America, meaning most Americans are white. Therefore, most American shooters would be white. Oh, common sense, it hurts. It hurts. So what is it? It's actually exactly proportionate. That means it doesn't have anything to do with color or culture. It has to do with mental incapacities, which can happen in any race. And that's why we need to focus more on mental health than gun reform. You're barking up the wrong tree. But yet they're going to continue to use this talking point as a way to convince, convey, and eliminate that which threatens them, which is one thing they've been focusing on, gun reform. But did you know that 86% of all the mass shootings, did you know 86% of them, or more, but known fact of 86% had mental health issues, known mental health issues, and still they were able to legally purchase a firearm? That's the problem. Not the fact that people can purchase a legal firearm, but because there aren't proper checks and balances in place, because state police records aren't being properly matched up with gun records, and that is the problem. So those are the things we actually need to focus on, not taking away guns or any specific type of firearm from any legal gun-toting individual, because that is your Second Amendment, and people will fight to the death for that. Mark my words. And if you're wondering where we got the statistics that it is proportionate, check it out yourself. Statistica.com, one of the major, most relevant and liberal statistical sites on the internet. So, but you'll never see that on the news because it doesn't fit their narrative. It's more fun to say that, oh, it's white, it's hate crime, it's this, it's that. Did you notice that whole Syrian, even though there were 10 killed there, it's almost off the news, but yet everybody's folding back to that Asian hate crime. We're back into the Asian hate crime. Why isn't it being labeled an Asian hate crime? It's all over the news. That happened before it. Less people were killed, and 3 different races were involved. Whereas when you go to the shooting at the Supers, complete opposite, and yet it's nowhere on the news. That's how you can tell it has nothing to do with gun control and more to do with a bullshit narrative. Speaking of bullshit narrative, let's move on down south to the wonderful border. And yes, Joe Biden, you are 100% at fault. And how do we know this? Because you ask each and every single illegal immigrant walking across the border why they decided to come and why they decided to come now. And it's because Joe Biden said we could. We had 100 days to get here. That's why we're rushing to get here. We're sending our children on dangerous, devastating journeys. And yes, they're sending them on these journeys because they are in terrible conditions, in a terrible place. But what you need to understand is, first, we're in a pandemic. We're in a terrible place, and America has to, at some point, put itself first. Second, you need to understand that the way they're doing it is devastating and deadly, and people are getting raped, killed, hurt, harmed, maimed, and nobody's doing a goddamn thing about it. And why? Because all they see is votes. All they see is pushing their optics, their stupid virtual signaling, and all it's doing is destroying our country. It's destroying the lives and the futures of those children who are they're going to have this in their memories forever, that they were raped on the border trying to become an American citizen. And yes, it's wonderful that they could become American citizens, but not that way. Send them back, because what's going to happen is the coyotes are going to continue to take advantage, and they're going to continue to charge the $3,250 that they charge each and every immigrant. That's right. We've done our math. We've done our research. People have been down the border. They've told us. And guess what? Even the senators have gone down. And you see the Biden administration attempting to do everything they possibly can to filter, silence, and hide them. They even had people from their administration there standing in front of Ted Cruz. Oh, don't take their picture. It's so unfair to the people. Ted Cruz planned on blurring out each and every one of those people. It had nothing to do with the individuals or embarrassing the individuals. It had to do with embarrassing the administration that is the cause for them to be embarrassed, for them to be in tragic conditions, for them to be in non-COVID safe conditions, and for them to be putting each and every American on the border and all the towns that they're now influxing to at risk. And who is it from? Joe Biden. Why did it happen? Joe Biden. And you know what's even sadder? We even noticed this. He put $86 million to put these people all up in hotels so they feel great about themselves. Biden did this. He'll probably put a Vote Biden t-shirt and sticker in every room as well. Even though that's our taxpayer money, it's making him look good. And that's it. Nobody else, because none of us want this. As a matter of fact, they didn't even bother to do that for our own military. Do you remember when our military was sleeping in cement parking garages with food, with metal shavings? And all of a sudden, these illegal immigrants are now allowed to walk into our country and step foot into a hotel, even though we didn't offer that same luxury to the people working and who lived and dedicated themselves to our country? Joe Biden, that's disgraceful. Jen Psaki, you are a disgrace. And for you to even lie, manipulate, and cover all of this up and to claim that, yeah, we'll let you in as soon as we clean up our mess, well, guess what? We already know. We already saw, and channels like ours will continue to show the truth and to prove that the Biden administration has done nothing in our opinion, to benefit this country. And if it has, it is so far outweighed by the negative that it is moot. And maybe they're doing this on purpose. Maybe they're just tanking Biden. Who cares? They said, we'll take care of your family forever and your legacy. And then Kamala will come clean up the mess. She'll look like the hero, because that's the only way they're going to beat Trump in 2024, because we all know Kamala will never beat Donald Trump. It's just not going to happen. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to be such a landslide after the way they've destroyed our country, our economy, our pipelines, just about everything I can talk about. Police, the border, voting, gun control. I could keep going. Everything that's important to America and what makes America America, the Democrats are now picking away at so they can control every little aspect of power in this country. And it's up to us, America, to stop it. Even you Democrats, because guess what? You're not going to like the results. And it's so sad that you're not even seeing, because the wool's being pulled over your eyes by clowns like Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, even Chris Wallace anymore. It's just sad. We need to find trustworthy sources, and that's why you're here at Critical Political Thinking, and we thank you. We'll continue to provide all of the truth and everything that matters, because that is how we will be able to continue to live our lives and to continue to make the decisions that matter to us and to our families. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please visit our website, criticalpoliticalthinking.com, and join our Critical Political Thinkers Club today. Get yourself a handy-dandy Critical Political Thinking custom exclusive mug, t-shirt, face mask for as long as we have to wear them, as well as a couple other awesome items, as well as our most important thing, the daily exclusive content of all the truth unsuppressed by the liberal social media giants. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and visit our website at criticalpoliticalthinking.com. God bless America. My name's Corey Camasso, and this is Critical Political Thinking.